What's up everyone, I'm CallumOnToast, and in today's video I'm going to be showcasing some of the most shocking colour cut battles you'll see with this triple Shadow Electric team. Now shout out to Jamie Finn because he already showcased a triple Shadow Electric team on his channel, but this is going to be a different team, and as you can see from the team graphic, I have awful PvP IVs for all three of these Pokemon, and unfortunately you get very limited opportunities to catch Shadow Legendaries, and these were both caught before they introduced the minimum IV of 6 for Legendaries, so yeah, I kind of got shafted with these IVs. What you're going to see from today's video is that despite these three having shockingly bad IVs, this team still puts in a ton of work. So if you do have some bad IV Pokemon, you're not sure whether you want to invest in them or not, and you know you're not going to be able to get another good one for a very long time, you might as well just go for it and you will be able to have some fun. So before we start with the battles, let's get into the question of the day. What is your favorite glass cannon electric Pokemon in Pokemon Go? This can be for raids or it can be for the Go Battle League. Let me know in the comment section down below, and with that being said, let's get into the battles now. Alright, so going into the first battle, we lead into a Toxapex, and what you will notice on my Galvantula is I'm running Fury Cutter and Cross Poison, and that's because we've got two other electric types. There's not really any reason for us to run electric type moves on our Galvantula, and what you'll also notice is in this first battle I'm running Zap Cannon, and unfortunately for me, running Zap Cannon just did not work. Thunderbolt pretty much always did enough damage anyway, so there was no point running it, and you'll see here we actually lose the one shield scenario up against a Toxapex because we don't get to enough energy to hit that Zap Cannon before they make it to 2 charge moves and take us out. And unfortunately I'm going to go down another shield even though I'm running a triple electric team up against a Toxapex, which is insane, and that is why I did get rid of Zap Cannon after this battle. But here we go for a wild charge. We get to a second wild charge on the CMP tie with this Swampert. It does massive damage even though it's resisted, and this Swampert will be taking me out with a Hydro Cannon, and you'll see here that this Cross Poison is absolutely gonna come in clutch because we go for it here, take out the Swampert, get the boost, they come in with Trevenant, and we make it to a lunge, and with the boost and a Shadow Galvantula, it takes out the Trevenant and I'm able to take that game. But here you're going to see me trying to get the Thunderbolt on my Shadow Zapdos, and unfortunately I really hate this TM system. You'll see here we are rapidly losing these TMs and we're not getting the right move. This is so frustrating. I don't know how many I used on the Shadow Zapdos, but I think finally we get it there, but I think I'm down to like 5 charge TMs now, and we've got another Team Rocket event coming very soon, so that is very depressing. But into the next battle, we see a Shiftry in the lead, and they're staying in. They go for a Leaf Blade straight away, and we fully farm them down. So what on earth have they got in the back? They come in with a Pelipper here. Actually no, it's a Mantine. We swap into our Zapdos. They don't even charge all the way to an Ice Beam, so I can let this go through. Just a Bubble Beam. I will charge to the Thunderbolt. Gonna go for it here. There's no point baiting because I feel very comfortable in this position. We take out the Mantine, and they have got a Pelipper in the back. That's going to be a very easy win there. So obviously that triple electric team up against a Shiftry double water flying team, certainly very well for us. But into the next game we see a Tropius in the lead. Gonna swap out. I do have 2 better responses, and for the most part I did use the Shadow Raikou as a safe swap, and often it did at least grab some sort of advantage, whether that's shield advantage or switch advantage, or in this case we're actually going to be able to grab both shields from this Lantern, which is great. Unfortunately they do fully farm me down and they do have quite a lot of energy, but luckily Galvantula, even in the Shadow form, can at least tank 1 Surf, and from this range they're not going to be able to fully Spark farm me down either. I will shield the next Surf, and I'm going to go for a lunge just before they make it to the final Surf here to take me out, and this lunge will put them into range where I can farm them down with Thunder Shock, so I'm happy to let the Galvantula go down and come in with my Shadow Zapdos. They come back in with the Tropius. Gonna overfarm as much as possible, go for the Drill Peck, and from this range it does take out the Tropius, and we're gonna see what they come in with next. And my opponent comes in with a Wall Rain. We get to the Thunderbolt in time, and this will, from full health pretty much, take out the Wall Rain, and I'm gonna be able to reach another charge move, but my opponent decides to concede the match there. So Shadow Zapdos absolutely went on a tear there in that battle. Into the next game, we see a Toxapex in the lead. Going to stay in initially. I'm hoping that they might swap out, but a lot of the time they didn't, so that's also fine. I'm actually going to shield this time up against a Tropius. Excuse me there. Gonna go for the Wild Charge, and this should be grabbing a shield from the Tropius, and I do have the back-to-back loaded. They're only one Air Slash away from another Leaf Blade, so I do have to go for it here, and unfortunately, because I debuff my defense by all 4 stages, they're able to resist it, Air Slash, farm me all the way down, which is really not good. I'm gonna come in with my Galvantula and essentially just sacrifice it here. There's no reason to keep it up against that Toxapex. Another Leaf Blade does some nice damage. I swap into my Zapdos. My opponent comes back in with their Toxapex, which is really good for me. I'm going to shield this, going to overfarm massively here, go for the Thunderbolt at 100 energy, and Thunderbolt takes out the Toxapex, and we're going to see my opponent comes back in with the Tropius. I will overfarm just a little bit here, go for the Drill Peck, take out the Tropius. They've got a Trevenant in the back, and because I've got a fairly attack-weighted Zapdos, the Drill Peck takes out the Trevenant, and I'm able to take that game. So into the next battle, we see another Toxapex in the lead, and my opponent does actually Safe Swap here into a Kingdra. Even though I've got 3 electric types here, because of that sub-dragon typing, we don't have the best response, so instead, I'm thinking, you know what, I'll just let the Galvantula go down, and I will be able to come in with either Pokemon, farm it down, and we should have some nice energy here. My opponent's going to come in with Shiftry, which is really good for me, but we do have to be very wary about the energy gains from this Shiftry. And even though they're just going for a Leaf Blade here, it is resisted with the Snarl damage. It will certainly add up, and over time, it will be enough to take me out. So I basically have to shield everything from this Shiftry, and they do get to a charge move just before we make it to a Drill Peck. They're now going to swap out. I'm going to swap out as well into my Shadow Raikou. Going to go straight for the Wild Charge before they get off a charge move. Wild Charge takes them out, but I've made a mistake here as I allow this Shiftry to get enough energy for back-to-back Leaf Blades. First one takes me out, and I lose the CMP tie up against the Shiftry now, even though I had a Drill Peck loaded, and somehow my opponent is able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Unova Stunfisk in the lead. This is very, very bad here, but we're going to shield up the Mud Bomb. The first Mud Bomb would do more damage. Of course, we're now going to go for a Lunge, and this will debuff their attack, and it also does some very nice damage to the Unova Stunfisk. And because we're running Fury Cutter instead of the Volt Switch, we actually do some nice fast move damage with Fury Cutter here. Going to go for a Cross Poison on the CMP tie, and we grab a shield. Actually, that wasn't a CMP tie. That was just before they got to the charge move, and at this point, I'm happy to let the Galvantula go down. They should be in range for me to farm down now, but actually, no, we're not going to be able to. So I swap, and I catch the Mud Bomb onto my Shadow Zapdos. That is resisted, so that's perfect here. Gonna have to go for a Drill Peck because they still aren't in farm down range with the electric type damage here from Thunder Shock and Volt Switch. I'm now going to shield here. They clearly don't want my Zapdos aligned to whatever is in the back, so they're now going to come in with their Jump Luff. We get to a Drill Peck, and we should be able to make it to a second Drill Peck here before they get to a charge move, and we do make it just in time, and this Drill Peck will take out... Oh, actually, no, they swap, and they catch it perfectly onto their Charizard, and here there's no point me making a catch. I know I'm one Volt Switch away from a Wild Charge, and Wild Charge will be enough from this range to take out the Jump Luff, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Ferrothorn in the lead, and this is another matchup where it's great to have Fury Cutter as it is neutral damage instead of resisted. I'm actually going to let the first charge move go through. I didn't want to go for a CMP tie just in case they went for the extra there, but I found that every Ferrothorn lead just went straight for a Power Whip, so that's fine. My opponent's going to swap into a Charizard. We come in with the Raikou, and we should be able to shield once and fully Volt Switch farm them down. And if you're wondering whether it's better to run Volt Switch or Thunder Shock, For me personally, I do prefer Thunder Shock because it just gives you a lot more flexibility in when you throw your charge moves, but Volt Switch is also very important as it does a lot more damage, so it gives you a lot more farm potential. And because I've got Fury Cutter and Thunder Shock, two fast moves that deal very little damage, I felt like it was necessary to run Volt Switch to complement this team. But here my opponent swaps into Talonflame, we land a Cross Poison. All that does is guarantees they're in Drill Peck range, so that does allow me to get to the back-to-back Drill Pecks here, go for the first one, and if they do shield up, that's perfectly fine, because we've got the back-to-back loaded. I can win the CMP tie up against this Talonflame, take out the Talonflame, and I should still be able to outpace the Ferrothorn here, just barely, get to the Drill Peck, and Drill Peck does take out the Ferrothorn, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Alolan Marowak in the lead. Obviously not great for us. Gonna swap into my Shadow Raikou. They're gonna go for the Bone Club straight away, and we will be able to live this, so I'm just gonna let it go through. We're now going to go for a Shadow Ball straight away, and if they let us go through, obviously we would take them out, but I'm happy to take a shield advantage as well. They've kind of displayed that they've not got the strongest response to a electric type that isn't also part bug, so I'm now going to come in with my Shadow Zapdos, and they are choosing to stay in here. Going to go for the Thunderbolt as this will guarantee the knockout, and we want to get rid of the Alolan Marowak. We do get rid of them. They come in with an Ampharos, not ideal for me, but then they swap into a Trevenant. I'm going to go for the Cross Poison. I know Lunge barely doesn't take them out, so we go for it here. We get the boost, and that's massive. Hoping that I will be able to fully farm them down in this scenario. We go for the farm down, we're not going to get there, so we go for a CMP tie, go for another Cross Poison, take out the Trevenant, and here I should have gone for the Lunge. It was absolutely necessary that I went for the Lunge. They actually let it go through, we get a boost, and here you're going to see this is agonizingly close. They go for the Thunder Punch, it doesn't take me out, and we simultaneously KO there. So if I went for the Lunge, first of all, that would have just taken out the Ampharos, but if it didn't, then I would have at least been able to lower their attack, and I would have been able to farm them down with my Zapdos. But into the next game here, we see a Macargo, I think it was, in the lead. They swap into a Whiscash, and this is not great for us here. Gonna go for another Wild Charge, and that was at least a CMP tie, so that is good. They go for a Mud Bomb, it takes me out, and yeah, still not looking great for us. I think I'm actually going to come in with my Zapdos here, just farm up a ton of energy. If they do commit to the Blizzard here, it means I can over farm massively here, and that's exactly what I'm going to do. I know this is not a Blizzard, so I can safely let it go through. It is Mud Bomb, it's resisted, but it still does a decent amount of damage. Going to go for the full undercharge here, but it still takes out the Whiscash. And my opponent is likely going to come back in with the Macargo. I'm not going to make it to 2 Thunderbolts, so I go for a Drill Peck bait. I don't even reach a second Drill Peck, and at this point it's game over. If I was running Discharge, maybe I'd at least be able to take out the Macargo, but it's very unlikely here, and I go for a Lunge. It doesn't do much damage. There's no point in me shielding here, and unfortunately Rock Throw Macargo absolutely destroys this team. So if you're seeing a lot of Rock Throw Macargo, you probably don't want to run this team. But into the next game, my opponent instantly swaps out of the Galvantula matchup, expecting Volt Switch, but I'm actually running Lunge, and this is really good for me here because I've got 2 Pokemon in the back that would love to see the Empoleon. My opponent also baits me there so I can get to a Cross Poison, and even though this won't take them out, it will put them into farm down range, which is very nice here. I will probably have to shield a Shadow Ball, but I'm absolutely okay with that. So I will commit the shield here, and my opponent does go for the Shadow Ball, so now I can fully Thunder Shock, farm them down. I have so much energy, and they've got a Swampert in the back, so this is amazing that we're aligning it to the Shadow Zapdos. We go for the Drill Peck, go for a second Drill Peck on the CMP tie. This could not be going any more perfectly here. We do connect there, and my opponent gonna go and Hydro Cannon takes me out. I can come in with my Raikou, commit to the full farm down, shield once, and go for the Wild Charge straight away. We take out the Swampert, and this Wild Charge is also gonna be taking out the Empoleon, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see Victini in the lead. A bit tricky here. V-Create will do massive damage, obviously one-shot a Galvantula. They're going to go for it straight away, so they're probably going to swap out, and they do swap into a Trevenant, so I'm going to go for a Lunge, and Lunge will do big damage or grab a shield, and we do barely not make it to another Lunge, but this is just going to be a Seed Bomb, so I can now go for a second Lunge, and this Lunge will do huge damage, barely doesn't take them out, but I can swap into my Shadow Zapdos, commit to the farm down, and I know this is only enough energy for a Seed Bomb. So we now have a loaded Zapdos here, gonna go for the Drill Peck. I really hope this takes out the Victini, and Drill Peck does connect, but it barely doesn't take them out. They just live with like 2 HP remaining. Go for a V-Create. I'm gonna have to come in with my Raikou here. And that's exactly what I do. They've got Shadow Abomasnow in the back. Unfortunately, my Galvantula is super low. I tried to catch the move. Switch Clock barely wasn't up yet. They've got enough energy for the back-to-back moves, so I swap out instantly, catch the move, and now I just have to make it to back-to-back Wild Charges. And even though Wild Charge is resisted, first one grabs the shield, and second one up against a Shadow will take out the Abomasnow. And can we take out the Victini? Yes, we can. Just barely, and I'm able to take that game. Into next game, we see another Shiftry in the lead. I love to see Shiftry in the lead because they often stay in and have no idea what to do up against Fury Cutter. We even make it to a Cross Poison and grab the boost before they throw a charge move. They go for a Leaf Blade, doesn't matter. These Fury Cutters absolutely tearing that Shiftry apart. They swap into a Pelipper, and they're clearly not prepared for electric types. We're going to come in with my Shadow Raikou here. Gonna let the first move go through, but I will actually commit a shield for the full farm down, and I will have so much energy loaded. They go for a second Weather Ball, and they're going to come back in with Shiftry, get farm down, and they've got Togedemaru in the back. We go for the Shadow Ball. This does massive damage. One more Volt Switch takes out the Togedemaru, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see a Pelipper in the lead. I'm expecting an insta swap out, but they actually stay in, and that's kind of messed me up a little bit there. I was expecting them to swap out immediately, but they didn't. And now we go for a Wild Charge, and you might think, why did we go for the Wild Charge straight away there? The reason is I just want to force them to throw their energy, and they go for a Frenzy Plant, and we can now go for the Shadow Ball, and this, if it goes unshielded, will take out the Venusaur. We regain switch advantage, which is massive. They also come back in with the Pelipper, and those 2 Volt Switches take it near the red health already. Gonna come in with my Shadow Zapdos, but the problem here is that they did get quite a lot of energy up against my Galvantula in the initial matchup, and now they do make it to a second Weather Ball, and they come in with a Talonflame, which is really, really bad for me. Gonna go for the Drill Peck here, and unfortunately, I'm not gonna be able to get to a Cross Poison in time. And unfortunately, Flame Charge takes me out. I'm going to go for the Thunderbolt, but I don't get it off in time, and they do take me out there. So GG's to that opponent. Into the next game, we see an Abomasnow in the lead. I'm going to shield the first charge move here, and I'm expecting that they're also going to shield the first move, but no, they swap into Swampert. I'm going to bait them with a Cross Poison. This is going to be massive if we grab a shield, which we do, and we get the boost as well, and we can now go for a Lunge. Lunge takes out the Swampert, and my opponent just concedes the match, so they're clearly weak to Galvantula, and with a boost, it was absolutely going to devastate that team. Into the next game, speaking of Swampert, we see a Shadow Swampert in the lead. Gonna shield the first charge move here, and once again, gonna overfarm massively, go for a Cross Poison. This should grab a shield from the opponent, and it does, and we can also CMP tie them to the next charge move, and a lot of people are unfamiliar with the counts for Fury Cutter and Cross Poison, so this opponent shields twice, which is perfect. This allows me to come in with my Zapdos, get to a Drill Peck on the CMP tie, and we can take care of the Swampert here. They come in with a Galvantula, so I'm going to come in with my Shadow Raikou. Unfortunately, they do get to the charge move first. I'm going to shield this up, and I'm just going to go for the Shadow Ball straight away, waiting to see if they're going to try and make a catch. They don't. We take out the Galvantula. They come in with Ferrothorn, and I will be able to make it to another Shadow Ball up against this Ferrothorn. This does big damage. It puts them into range where a Drill Peck should be enough to take them out. Power Whip takes out the Raikou. We're going to be able to get to a Drill Peck here, but I do overfarm, making sure to throw at the right time, and Drill Peck takes out the Ferrothorn, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next game, we see Toxapex in the lead. Gonna swap out here into my Raikou. My opponent responds with a Shadow Swampert. Gonna go for the Wild Charge straight away, and we do grab a shield from the Swampert. My opponent's going for the full farm down, so I make it to a second Wild Charge. And even though it's resisted, we grab both shields from the Swampert. But unfortunately, this Swampert is absolutely loaded. They're now at 100 energy, so this is going to be devastating. Hydro Cannon fully takes out the Galvantula. I just sacrificed it completely. Gonna shield up here. It is a Hydro Cannon, and they do make it to another Hydro Cannon before I get to a charge move to take them out. So this Swampert putting in so much work, but I do get to a Drill Peck here. I have the back-to-back loaded, and we do finally get rid of this Swampert. We're going to see what my opponent comes in with next. They come in with Trevenant. I'm going to overfarm, go for the Drill Peck, and my opponent makes the perfect catch onto their Toxapex, and this is really bad for me. I wasn't sure how much energy they had when they swapped out, so I go for the Thunderbolt there. I could have got one extra in, and that one fast move difference does make a difference as they make it to a Seed Bomb, and Seed Bomb takes out my Zapdos, and I do lose that game. So very well played there. Into the next game, we see another Shadow Swampert in the lead this time. Gonna shield up, and it is a Hydro Cannon, so I'm gonna overfarm once again, go for the Cross Poison, hoping to grab a shield in this matchup, and we do grab the shield, once again getting to the second Cross Poison on the CMP tie, and grabbing both shields once again. So can we redeem ourselves here? They go for a Hydro Cannon, takes us out, we come in with the Shadow Zapdos, we get to the Drill Peck in time, and this will be taking out the Swampert, and we're gonna be seeing what my opponent has in the back. They come in with Trevenant. We're going to go for the Drill Peck here, making sure they don't catch it this time, and they don't. We take out the Trevenant. They've got Tropius in the back, and it's an easy game for the Shadow Zapdos to sweep, so my opponent concedes the match. Into the next game, we see another Alolan Marowak in the lead. Gonna swap out into my Shadow Raikou. My opponent swaps into their Trevenant. Gonna go straight for the Shadow Ball here, and this will be grabbing a shield. But if my opponent goes for the farm down, which is exactly what they're doing, we get to a second Shadow Ball, and do they know that? No, we one-shot the Trevenant, and we flipped switch advantage and grabbed shield advantage. But this Alolan Marowak does have a lot of energy. And as well, they Bone Club bait me, which is unfortunate. I don't go for the charge move here, as I know a Drill Peck barely doesn't take them out from this range. So I do overfarm here, go for the Drill Peck, and now we do have the back-to-back loaded. The first one grabs the shield. The second one we can slightly overfarm, go for it here, and this takes out the Alolan Marowak, and they've got a Pelipper in the back. We can safely go for the Thunderbolt, and this is obviously going to be one-shotting the Pelipper, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there. Into the next game, we see another Toxapex in the lead. Very common lead to see. Gonna swap into my Raikou, and my opponent's actually staying in for whatever reason. I was expecting a switch, so I actually don't go for the charge move straight away. I'm gonna overfarm as much as possible, go for a wild charge here, just before I make it to 100 energy. They actually just let it go down, which is fine with me. I'm now gonna go for a Shadow Ball, and this should be grabbing a shield from the Trevenant, which is exactly what happens. I'm now going to wait out my switch lock here, as I am switch locked but my opponent isn't. They're going to go for a charge move, and I call the bait, and it's just a Seed Bomb, and we make it to the lunge on the CMP tie with this Trevenant, and lunge, after a bit of lag, does connect. It takes out the Trevenant. They've got a Tentacruel in the back, and even though we have the type matchup advantage, they can go for an Acid Spray. It's going to lower my defense, and this is going to be very risky. I have to bait, and if they call the bait, then it's game over, but they don't. They go for the shield, and it allows us to get to a Thunderbolt, and Thunderbolt takes out the Tentacruel, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next game, we see the absolute worst core breaker to the team, a Camerupt. They've got Incinerate, so it does massive, super effective damage up against the Galvantula, and of course they do resist all of the electric type damage. They're now going to come in with a Whimsicott, another Pokemon that electric types typically don't want to see. We go for the Shadow Ball, grab a shield, and it looks like they're going to throw pretty much straight away here. So Grass Knot does take me out, and luckily for me I am running cross poison, which will be double super effective damage, so I can overfarm just a little bit here before going for a cross poison, and from this range cross poison takes out the Whimsicott, and my opponent's probably going to come back in with the Camerupt. I'm hoping that I can get to a lunge in this matchup before they get to a second Incinerate, but unfortunately not, so I do throw just before the damage registers. Gonna swap out here, bank a little bit of energy, not able to get the farm down, and my opponent does get to a charge move. Earth Power grabs my final shield. They're going to come in with a Jellicent, and here I realise I'm not getting to a Thunderbolt, so I go for the back-to-back Drill Pecks instead, and we grab the first shield, or the final shield, sorry, and we will now land this Drill Peck. They also go for a charge move straight away, meaning they don't take any more Thundershock damage. We come back in with Galvantula, make it to a lunge. Is this enough to take out the Jellicent? No, it's not, and we can't Fury Cutter farm them down, so they're able to Hex farm me down and take that game. But I put up a fairly decent fight up against the worst core breaker for the whole team. But into the next battle here, we're going up against a Lantern. Gonna let this first Surf go through, and I should be able to get to the back-to-back Wild Charges. Not quite in time for this here, but we go for the first one, grab the shield from the opponent. Am I gonna commit a shield? Yes, I am. They go for a Surf, gonna overfarm here, go for a second Wild Charge, and unfortunately, because I debuff myself once again, I won't make it to a third Wild Charge, which is very unfortunate, but we've already got this Lantern into the yellow health just from Volt Switch damage alone. Now I'm going to come in with my Galvantula, take the first Surf, get to a cross poison before they make it to the next Surf, and this puts them into farm down range, so hopefully my Shadow Zapdos can sweep in the end game. We're going to come in here, fully Thundershock, farm them down, and my opponent comes in with Alolan Marowak. I know Thunderbolt barely won't take them out, so I go to the back-to-back Drill Pecks. First one does big damage, the second one will be enough to take out the Marowak. And we're going to see they've got a Ferrothorn in the back, so this is going to be a very close matchup here. We're going to see if two Drill Pecks does take them out. The first one lands, it does barely get them into the yellow health, so I'm confident that a second Drill Peck will take them out. We get to the Drill Peck here. Is this enough damage to take them out? No, but we do get the Thundershock farm down, and I'm able to take that game. Into the next game, we see a Shadow Zapdos in the lead. You love to see it. I'm going to stay in initially and then try to catch the move and get a Volt Switch through. This is absolutely massive. Drill Peck is resisted, and my opponent comes in with a Quagsire, so not very good for me here. A massive core breaker to the team, but we do grab a shield from the Shadow Ball, but they fully farm me down, which is certainly not good because they can of course run Stone Edge, so even though we only take neutral damage from the ground type moves or resisted damage on my Zapdos, Stone Edge will threaten both Pokemon here. We're going to go for a Fury Cutter and, a Lunge, and we do debuff their attack and land it, so that's great, but Stone Edge still takes me out. Gonna come in with my Shadow Zapdos, go for the Drill Peck on the CMP tie with the Quagsire. We take them out here, and my opponent's gonna come back in with their own Zapdos. We're once again gonna go for the Drill Peck here, and this, even though it's resisted, takes out the Shadow Zapdos, and they've got an Incinerate, Shadow Typhlosion. We get to the Drill Peck here. Is this gonna grab the shield? Yes, it does. Can we get to the second Drill Peck? Yes, we can because of the new mechanic. And Drill Peck takes out the Shadow Typhlosion, and I'm able to take that game. So GG's to that opponent there, and into the final battle of this video, we lead into a Kingdra. My opponent comes in with a Whiscash. I'm actually going to shield in this matchup here because I do want to grab a shield back from the Whiscash. We get to the back-to-back charge moves here. I'm going to go for the Wild Charge, and I honestly should just throw the second Wild Charge straight away, but instead I didn't. I go for the extra. They take me out here, and that was a massive misplay. The thing is, I didn't want them to shield and then fully Mudshot farm me down, but in the end it just didn't work out for me here. I'm going to go for a Drill Peck here on the CMP tie with a Blizzard, and Drill Peck does connect. It's not enough damage to take them out, and my opponent does full send the Blizzard, so I now can overfarm massively, but they come in with a Credilli, and this is really not good for me here. Stone Edge will be enough to take me out fully, so I'm going to swap into Galvantula, force them to waste their energy here, and Stone Edge does one-shot the Galvantula, but I should be able to make it to the back-to-back Drill Pecks here, and the first one will be grabbing the final shield, the second one will be enough to take out this Cradilly, and can Shadow Zapdos beat whatever is in the back? It's a Kingdra, we did see it in the lead of course. Gonna get to the Thunderbolt just in time here. Thunderbolt does take out the Kingdra. Can we outpace the Whiscash? No, we can't unfortunately, and we are just one turn away from winning this game, but Mud Bomb does take me out and we lose there. So GG's to that opponent. So that's going to be it for today's video. I'm absolutely knackered from that commentary. I didn't realise I left so many battles in. That was nearly 30 minutes of battles. So if you did enjoy it, make sure you leave a like, leave a comment letting me know. And as well, don't forget to respond to the question of the day if you haven't done so already. And if you want to see more content like this in the future, make sure you hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications. That way you'll be notified whenever I upload a new video. And with that being said, let's get into the shoutouts from my previous video. So firstly, we've got Denny Wadaya who says G-Fisk is supposedly played to counter a Flyer and Electric type, but nowadays Noctowl and Lantern have become so strong that each of them can defeat G-Fisk now. So yeah, that's certainly not great when your anti-flying and anti-electric type doesn't actually do that well against Lantern and Noctowl. Next we got Spadoid, and I'm not going to read the entire comment, but he says, in my opinion, definitely Runerigus. Despite the core breaking potential from its typing alone, it's a bit of a sim hero, meaning that it needs to land that Sand Tomb bait and then go for the Shadow Ball, and in reality that just doesn't happen that often. So yeah, definitely a sim hero, doesn't really work that well in practice, and that's probably why you don't see it that much in the Go Battle League, despite being fairly highly rated on PvPoke. Next we got SF6942 who says Azumarill, in my opinion, it doesn't really hard counter that many Pokemon in the current meta, and there are a lot of Pokemon it's weak to, such as Deoxys with Thunderbolt, Grass types and Lantern, and also Registeel, and it also doesn't get to its charge moves that quick. And I think Azumarill has kind of just gotten worse and worse as the seasons have gone on. It was very strong in the beginning, but then with the bubble nerf, it honestly didn't seem like it impacted it too much. But then when we saw an introduction of a lot of new Pokemon and other Pokemon gaining access to new moves, it's certainly fallen a lot shorter there, and it honestly is just not that great anymore. And then finally we've got James Ratabali who says most overrated Pokemon in the Great League is Jinx. I'm not sure who they think rates Jinx, but I just thought that was too funny not to include. And as for my opinion, I think the most overrated Pokemon in the Great League is Registeel, and that's because it doesn't quite have the same bulk as in the Ultra League, and because it's got literally zero fast move pressure, it means that a lot of the Glass Cannon Pokemon that I love to run are fairly safe from it, because we can just safely shield charge moves. It doesn't get to the moves as quickly as, say, a Galarian Stunfisk does to get to Rock Slide, so it's pretty easy to play against, and I love seeing Registeel when I'm using Glass Cannon Pokemon because it does actually make it a lot more comfortable. And with that being said, thank you all so much for watching today's video, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.